So tonight I want to talk about vultures. I've been wanting to talk about this for a little while. And it's kind of actually related to narcissism, but I'm just going to aim it more towards vultures. So it has been in my lifetime experience that vultures come out. There's different times, but they come out when someone is expected to die or pass. And it really, and also too, to be honest, the death cults, it's very related to the death cults. Because they feed off that death energy. It's some type of black magic that they're doing. And what would a vulture be to you? I'm going to look it up. Give me a minute. You guys know I love to do that. Hold on. Okay, this is Merriam-Webster again. I really like Merriam-Webster. So, vulture. Let's see if this works. Hold on.
Vulture.
Okay, 1. Any of various large birds, families, Cypridae and Cathartidae, that are related to the hawks, eagles, and falcons, but have weaker claws, and the head usually naked, and that subsist chiefly or entirely on carrion. They don't mention that they feed off death. They feed off dead cows, they feed off whatever is dying. And then the second meaning is a rapacious or predatory person. So that's it. So, without going into lots of detail, I can just say that I've had personal experience with mega vultures. Mega vultures. In fact, the vulture can't wait until someone dies. They're just sitting there like smelling the blood, smelling the death. They can't wait to get their claws onto the estate. They cannot wait to get their claws onto the house deed. They cannot wait to inherit the car or the truck or the van. And nothing is enough for them. They're just insatiable. They need more. They're very devoid of any type of empathy or compassion. And honestly, working in the social work field, I worked in nonprofit for, I would have to say on and off for like 20 years. I didn't start off as a social worker, but I did do a lot of nonprofit work. And then while I was going to school, I worked as a caregiver. And working with clients that are elderly, and, I had all various types of clients. I ain't never seen vultures like when an elderly or maybe, what's the word I'm looking for? When you get a diagnosis that you're not going to, like the chances of survival are really low. I have seen some of the most evil vultures ever. And honestly, vultures can mask themselves as empaths. What they do is they know they're not like other people. They know that they don't have compassion or empathy. So what they do is they've been studying people for years, and they mirror true empathy. But you will be able to tell if you really pay close attention. And then you have the vultures that they don't care. I remember once I was working with a client in an assisted living facility. And I wasn't working for the assisted living facility. The assisted living facility was so bad that the client family hired a one-on-one caregiver for their mother. Even though my client and her husband had paid this facility anywhere from $50,000 to $80,000 for their care. It's oh my God, talk about vultures. So I had some of the most, I don't even know, like the most hurtful experiences in that facility and other scenarios. But that place was so bad. It was so bad that the state had been called in several times. And I started out having a very, very positive relationships with the nurses and the nurses' assistants and the doctors. But then when people kept calling the state to report them, they started getting paranoid. They thought I called. I didn't call. So then they started being nasty to me. But I ain't never seen abuse on that level before. It was horrible. And it wasn't just because it was understaffed, because you know all those places are understaffed. It was just because you're working with demons, you know. So in this particular case, working with this woman, she had severe dementia, and she was getting ready to leave the world very soon. And I mean, wow. Evil. I'm here to tell you, evil. What I saw the family members do, and what's even worse about it was that this client of mine, she trusted her family members. And what they were doing, you know, I'm being confidential. I'm not telling anything that's people could know whom it is. But like behind her back, they had the power of attorney, the health power of attorney, and the financial health attorney, or financial power of attorney. And because this particular client family member would say, oh, you know, me and my husband, we weren't very good with money. You know, teach his own, nobody's perfect. But it was so creepy because it's like she was openly kind of almost admitting why she was doing the things she was doing, because my client and this client was just ready to go to God, to go to heaven. And I saw some of the most awful things I'd ever seen in my life at that nursing home. The physical therapists and physical therapist assistants would literally force these elderly clients that might weigh 85 or 90 pounds. They would force them. I saw this happen. I'll never forget it. Force them to get out of their deathbed or to get out of their wheelchair when all they wanted to do, they were ready to die. But because the physical therapists and the physical therapist assistants knew that it required, the only way that they could collect payment on these clients was if they actually got them up to do some exercise. It was so bad. And then I had befriended one of the ladies that worked for the facility. She worked in the cleaning area. And she and I used to say, she was an African American gal. She and I used to say, if anybody calls us for a witness on the stand, we're going to tell everything. Nobody ever called, though. It did change ownership, which which happens a lot with nursing homes and assisted livings. That it happens in a lot of businesses. It's just a way to get out of responsibility and not pay fines, and and there are a lot of good people trying to do good things. So I'm not gonna, and honestly, at that facility there were a lot of really amazing people, and there were a lot of people that were really trying, but there were the demonic types that, ooh, it was bad. And I saw one of the the nursing home clients. He was kind of a jerk. He was. But I saw him abused on a level that I couldn't believe. I couldn't even believe it. They would let him sit in his soiled clothing for weeks. Well, of course, he did fight them when they wanted to try to help, get him cleaned up. But there was a way to approach that. They could have gotten a male nurse, male nurse or doctor or someone to help. And he was kind of, he had a kind of nasty disposition. Maybe he was a narcissist. It's possible. But the level of abuse that they allowed for him to be in, it was so bad. It was inhumane. And not everyone lined up with that. They didn't. But it was like, if you said anything, then the bullies come around, which of course are the narcissists, and they try to handle you. Let me tell you something. They tried to handle me. They learned real fucking quick. You ain't gonna handle me. It's kind of like, how do I say this? I don't want to say it put it like this. They thought I was like Miss Susie Q, little white girl that, just fell off the suburb or something. It wasn't like that. I'm not the one. They learned quick, too. But it was crazy. It's like I had to fight off this whole negative bunch. CNAs that were kind of they were attempting to bully me. They found out real quick. They found out real quick. But I mean, I was mostly there. I was there to protect my client, and you better damn straight know I did. I sure did. You ain't gonna mistreat my client. You gonna get right. You gonna get right. You gonna get right. You gonna get right. I don't care how you have to. You gonna get right. And then with my client, it was like, the family literally was forcing her against her will to do things she didn't want to do. And to be honest, I reported it to the social worker, which I had a social work degree at the time. I just wasn't able, at the time, I couldn't find a good job with just a bachelor degree without going to CPS, and I didn't want to do that. So me and the social worker got along real well. You guys know I don't play around. So I reported what I had to report to her, and then she reported it to the director. But the difficult part of those things is that a lot of times people, they really do want to try to do the ethical thing. But when you're working with demons, you know what I mean? It's hard because, especially, through the legal system and everything. But a lot of people stood up and tried to do the right thing. I stayed at that particular job as long as I could, and then I was like, I'm out. It was just very draining, and it was just, and I believe a short time after then, the client, she passed. But it was just, oh my goodness. A lot of the vultures that I saw with this particular client, I honestly couldn't, it was like I was having a hard time wrapping my head around it. And I was cordial with the family members, but I'm like, I was just thinking like they knew I knew. They knew I knew. And I would talk with other CNAs and nurses. We all knew. We all knew. So we just tried to do the best we could in our capacity. That's kind of like all you can do. And honestly, we all like sometimes you try to like put it on the directors and that. They try, some of them do try to do the right thing. It's not always, there's legal statutes and things you have to follow. You're dealing with trying to keep a workforce happy. And it was just bad. It was so bad. It was so bad. And I mean, talking about the vultures, and I would talk amongst the CNAs and the nurses, and it was like it was some evil stuff. You would see these elder clients that were, they were declining like really fast. Their family members would never come to see them. It was, when I tell you it was sad, it was sad. And then, right, like when they started to get, like when they started to get worse and it's kind of evident that they don't have long left, that's when these family members would just pop up all over the place. They're trying to get the money. It was sad, bro. It was sad. And they knew, the elder clients, they knew, it was just sad. But vultures, man, like they come around when they think they're going to get a payout. They come around when they think they're going to get your house that's going into foreclosure. They come around when sometimes they come around when you're diagnosed with an illness. I don't have that right now, just to let you know. But they do, that's a lot of times when they'll show up because they know that things are rough for you. And Ali Matthews, Michelle Nieves, Dr. Romani, all of these, Dr. Les Carter, they all talk about it. They'll, like these narcissistic types, they come in when you're really down on your luck. When things are, because they know it's going to be easier to manipulate and use you. And they're going to use you for whatever they can use you for. And then to top it all off, they're going to virtue signal like nobody's business. And they're going to make it appear as if they are like the best brother, the best husband, the best father, whatever role they play. That's at virtue signaling. Which a lot of what I've noticed too, a lot of internet celebrities or YouTube celebrities, they do that. And I'm not saying every single YouTube celebrity is doing that. That's why I don't want to be all on the freaking YouTube. Like I sometimes will post, visual videos. I don't want to be that one. I don't want to be like shopping at the mall at the freaking Tommy Boy store and then somebody's like, oh, I saw you on YouTube. I don't want that, man. So it's like the vultures, man, they come out, man. Anytime, you see when there's like a crisis or something, a difficulty, maybe there's a financial setback, maybe someone lost their job, maybe somebody had like a work accident, maybe your teenage son hurt his leg and he can't play football. Whatever it is, they like to swoop in during those times because it's easy to take over. And then they are ascertaining everyone in the situation to extract and get whatever it is they can get for themselves or their family or whomever. Because that's just how their minds think. They're evil. I remember having a discussion once with one of my first caregiving clients, really beautiful people. I helped. That was when being a caregiver was not too bad. It was a decent assignment. And, I got to work in the home, and they were married. They were like in their 90s, really sweet people. And I'll never forget this other client. She had told me, I don't know how it got brought up, but Well, I'm not, without getting into too much detail, I was just telling her about how greedy people come out when people die. And, she's 90, so obviously she's had a lot of experience with those things. And she was telling me, yeah, you have to be careful for those people. They're like, I don't know if she said parasites or what. I mean, my dad used to say that, parasites. But, man, it's just something else, man. And like the death cults, now the death cults you will see come out. Without me saying too much about it, you guys should know. I got eyes to see. I hope you do too. Anytime there is a catastrophic event, most specifically involving a lot of death, whether it is a hurricane, whether it is like some type of an explosion or an airplane crash, or especially if it's a societal catastrophe, they will come out of the woodwork. And you know what they do? They get on, television. I guess we still call it television. They get on the television and they start raising money for it, right? And that's that whole... And what they do really is they siphon that money for themselves. Facts, facts, facts. And if you develop really good discernment on a spiritual nature, you will be able to sense, these diabolical vultures. Me personally, they got a funny smell too, like a sulfur smell. And of course, law, and you guys should know, law of attraction is real to me, 100%. Even when things are difficult, it's just what it is, But because these vultures live in a lower vibrational frequency, you're always going to see them. And you know what? They'll make themselves look like the heroes. My previous channel, man, I had some good videos on there, man. They were pissed. Because I was freaking revealing them. That's why. Vampires and vultures, they don't like to be revealed. Especially when I was doing the videos on beta sex kitten programming of the children, of the little girls and boys. They sure didn't like that. Yeah. That's when the pedophiles were flagging my freaking videos, calling them a hate crime. when I'm revealing how they sell, should I say this? Yeah. How they sell the children online. Sure did. But anyways, I'm going to move forward. Vultures, they feed on pain. They feed on death. They feed on illness. They feed on anxiety. They feed on fear. If you don't do this, you're going to die. If you don't do this, you're going to die. If you don't do this, you're going to die. Fear, fear, fear. And again, too, it all mixes in with the whole MK Ultra and the mind control. Keep people as exhausted as possible. Vultures love to keep you tired. You know why? Because it's easier to insert new mind programming into you when you're exhausted. But vultures, do your best to stay away from them. Strengthen up your intuition and your discernment and your feelings. Always go with how you feel. I've been really listening to my intuition for a very long time. I mean, and probably in the last 10 years, like any type of clairvoyant or clear abilities that I have is off the chain. And the more The more natural I eat, the better it is. But vultures, man. Vultures like to be in charge. Vultures like to have parades. They like to have... Oh, I want to say so much. Well, I'm not going to get too much into the death cults. But the death cults have rituals. And the rituals are everywhere you look. If you just pay attention, you don't have to participate in the rituals, but it's good to just be aware of what's going on. But vultures are always there to feed. They're there to feed off of your misery. They're there to feed off of your pain. Oh, and they love to make money off of it too. Oh, they sure do. Exploitation makes a lot of vultures money. People's pain make them a lot of money. Vultures enjoy anger, angst, anxiety, stress, fear. They enjoy blackmail. That's one of their modus operandis. And blackmail will keep a person in a perpetual state of fear and anxiety. If you can just let go of that blackmail and say to yourself, well, if somebody finds this out, what's going to happen? And just let it go, you can be free. In fact, if I think about the whole smut industry, you guys should know what I'm talking about. That's all lower vibrations, lower vibrational frequencies, feeding off of you. And oftentimes, and I'm not even talking about the real vultures, because the vultures are out, they're just doing what they do. You know, that's how they feed. But if you notice like what we might say is a humanoid vulture, their actions are always very unnatural. It's not in accordance with nature. It's not... It will feel weird. It will feel strange. You will say to yourself, something is just not right. Like something doesn't feel right. That's that vulture energy. Yeah, they really feed off the death energy. And honestly, the death cults make billions of dollars off of it. They do. Yep. And a lot of times, a humanoid-looking individual who is a vulture will just gravitate to more vulturistic, lower vibrations, like a more vulturistic culture. That's where they're going to go, because they feed. And vultures feed on death. And I believe that lots of various energies are tied to death. Like one I might think of is like grieving. A family grieving for someone, or grieving for whom their family member used to be. Like, let's say dementia. And I'm not talking about the helping professions like the empaths that have good hearts. I'm talking about the people that are there for their payday. People that are there to get what they're going to get. They want Uncle Benny's hope chest. They want Auntie Mary's property. They want cousin Bill's Rolls Royce, whatever it is, right? So that's it. It's like, honestly, if you just think about it, and vultures are the vulture is just like any other animal. They have to feed. But like a more humanoid or alien, who knows, like whatever energetic vulture you're around, they're looking for their feed. And they don't operate like an empath. They don't even have the heart energy that an empath has. In fact, I believe that these vultures are completely devoid of it, to be honest. And always watch out for the vulture that's masking themselves as an empath. So that's it, you guys. I hope this is informative. Have an amazing day or night wherever you are. Peace.